Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Pathfinder Flip Tiles product. This is an expansion set for the Forest Perils set of these tiles. This is the first set of these things that I've ever actually picked up. And basically they're sort of similar to the flip mats as far as I understand, but they're obviously made into smaller pieces so that you can construct your own maps. At some point I would love to get some of the starter sets for these, but for today, this is what I have. This was actually given to me as a Christmas present by my friend Andrew, so I really appreciate him giving me this. So I can't wait to open this up. I also have a couple of other things that I'm going to sort of compare it with or use alongside of it. So for example, I have one of the Pathfinder flip mats from the Pathfinder playtest, and I'm also going to compare it to the Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Tiles, just so you can kind of get an idea what these things are like. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get this opened. Alright, it's actually packed on pretty tight there, but I think we got it. Oh, that sounded awful. Alright. So we'll actually just look at the back here as well before I finally open everything up. So it just says, a twisted forest filled with perils. This isn't just another walk in the woods. Next time your players are ready to explore the depths of the wilderness, they won't have to wait for you to draw every tree and every bush. The Pathfinder Flip Tiles Forest Perils expansion set provides beautifully illustrated 6" by 6" map tiles, so these are all going to be the same size. That can be used to stock your woodlands with a variety of hazards, runes, dangers, and strange sites of interest. Inside you'll find 24 richly crafted double-sided map tiles. This expansion set, along with Pathfinder Flip Tiles for a starter set, allows you to create endless tracks of deadly forest quickly, so stop your sketching and start your flipping today. The Forest Perils expansion set includes ruin, forest fire, briar, waterway, roadway, crossing, and others. The retail price for this was $19.99 US, which was I think it was around $25 or $26 Canadian. And yeah, these seem pretty cool. So with 24 tiles, these are probably going to be the same kind of material as the flip mats themselves, but we'll just go ahead and have a look here. Oop. I can get it open. I don't want to rip anything. See if the bottom's will be a little bit more forgiving. There we go. I will say these are packed pretty tightly in this box. Holy, there we go. There we go. Alright, so yeah, this is what we have here. So we just got the stack. I'll just go through and look at each one. So yes, it is the same material as the Pathfinder flip mats. However, each of these are double-sided. And there's 24 of these, so there's 48 different 6" by 6" sections that you can use here. And again, these aren't meant to be used sort of on their own. This is an expansion, so the starter set probably has more generic areas, and these are going to be more specific, but still, I could still find these to be very, very useful. Let's try to avoid the glare. We got some paths there. So even just a few with these path things on them could be very, very useful, which is pretty cool. And I always like stuff like this, just for flavor. Like, it doesn't have to actually have any real significance, but just to have something there to show that, you know, the things have happened on these on these paths. Got a little cabin there. And we have a we have a path that's actually intersected by a river. There we got some briars. Intersection on the road. I like this one, just a pit with bones and stuff in it. Now some of these might be duplicated because we have directly behind it, we have another pit, but what's on the other side is different. Oh, and they actually have, if I can zoom in on there, so it lets you know which side is which. So we have the B side, and then we have the A side, which is really cool. Now the Dungeon Tiles for Dungeons and Dragons does the same thing, but it does it on the sheet itself and not on the individual tiles. But of course, the tiles there are a lot smaller as well. Well, we got some ruins here. So I like these quite a bit. Now I really like the flip mats in general. So for me, something like this is just, you know, fantastic. And you could even also like stack these things on top of one another, and it's not going to be as... The thing that I'm not a huge fan of with the dungeon tiles is their thickness. So when you start stacking multiple tiles on top of one another, you got a little waterfall there. It just doesn't look good, and it's really easy to sort of knock those things around. Not saying that that's not going to be the case here with these tiles, but at the same time, again, it's just going to look a little bit better, I think, honestly. And yeah, I mean, I love these kinds of things, and Paizo has some of the best accessories, in my opinion, for tabletop role-playing. And I'm saying that as a lifelong, well, not a lifelong, but for someone who's been a huge fan of Dungeons & Dragons ever since he first discovered it. I will freely say that that Paizo has, again, some of the best accessories for tabletop gaming. And there's a helicopter going overhead. So apologize for that, but it is what it is. Here we got some forest fires. Now these ones I think are going to be really, really fun to use. And is this the last one? Second to last? Second to last. And these are really, really just the art on them is really, really fantastic. Absolutely love them. So those are the dungeon tiles themselves, or not the dungeon tiles, the flip tiles. So like I said, I do have this is one of the maps that came with the Doomsday Dawn map pack for the 2nd edition playtest. I'm not going to unfold the whole thing. I'll just put my knife on there, sort of weigh it down. But just to give you an idea how useful some of these can be. So for example, you could put that like there. So you can use these to sort of change up existing flip mats if you have them. And again, just to give a bit of a comparison to the dungeon tiles. So this is the Reincarnated Wilderness Set, because this is a wilderness themed flip tile set. Oh, just nothing wants to cooperate today. There we go. So again, just to sort of compare, so with these you're getting 24. This is an expansion pack. Again, I have to reiterate that this is not meant to be a standalone product. This is meant to supplement and or complement the Forest starter set, which is something that at this point I'm actually really hoping to be able to find when I have the funds for it, because I really like these. So none of these tiles that you saw here today were necessarily meant to be used solely on their own. Again, I can only imagine that the starter set would have just some more generic woodland scenes that you can use to sort of piece together to create maps. but these are going to be really, really handy expansions. So again, just to compare to the dungeon tiles, so you can see some of the dungeon tiles are obviously going to be bigger, some are going to be smaller, give you different types of details. The thing with the dungeon tiles is that they are more customizable in terms of there's like several that have just very small, if I can find any here. The Wilderness Set may not be the best example of it, but you've got just smaller like sets of tiles like we have here that you can use to help further customize your tabletop grids. But that's also piecing together a lot of small pieces, or placing a lot of small pieces on top of larger ones and having them slide around. And now these are going to slide around as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's pretty much always going to be an issue with something when you are stitching them together. But I think that overall these are going to be a lot more useful, truthfully. I mean, I don't really want to fiddle around. If I'm trying to find stuff inside of one of these boxes, like for example, if I have all of these punched out, trying to find some of the smaller, finer detail ones is going to be a bit of a pain, versus with these things where they have like the dry erase capability, you can, at worst, you can draw something in yourself if you absolutely have to. And I actually kind of like that. The dungeon tiles here, they're just not really, I don't think you should use dry erase markers with them. There's a bit of a texture, and I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera or not. You may see it in the light reflection, but there's just enough of a texture that I would be concerned with using a dry erase marker on it, for the fear that it might not come off. Now these ones are smoother than the old 4th edition tiles, so you may be able to try it. I don't recommend it, just in case, again, some of those textures really catches some of the stuff and makes it difficult to wipe off. And with this is just paper. This isn't like a specially coated surface. So eventually, even dry erase markers, if you use them too often on a surface, eventually they're going to become very difficult to get the surface completely clean. I'm coming up against that with my adventure grid, my D&D adventure grid. So every once in a while you have to use like a liquid to wipe them down and get all the stuff off. And with these dungeon tiles, with these things here, I don't recommend that, because it's paper, it's a paper coating. It's not really meant to be have like liquids or even like damp cloths really put on them, whereas these are fully designed for it. Again, these are all 6x6, so the amount of customization, I guess I should say, isn't necessarily going to be as high as you can get with sometimes like the 1x2 or even like the 1-inch square tiles that you can get from the tile sets. But I think that these overall are probably going to get more use from me than the tile sets, just because I don't want to fiddle around with trying to find some of these smaller ones. I'm looking forward to getting the starter set for the forest, and seeing what those ones are like. So hopefully within the next month or so I can find a set of those and do a video for them as well. But at the end of the day, I really like these tile sets. I love the flip mat accessory stuff altogether. And for me, I think these are going to just hold up over time better than a piece of paper glued to cardboard. It's just, I think there's going to be less wear and tear on them. When they're easier to store, in terms of having like the box and not having smaller tiles just rattling around, which can lead to unintentional damage, stuff like that as well. Not saying that the dungeon tiles for D&D are necessarily a bad purchase. I don't want to get that point across at all. But I think overall, I'm going to be more tempted to use these than I am going to be using these. Anyway, that's just my video on the Pathfinder Flip Tiles product. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. If you have some of the other sets, let me know which ones you would recommend picking up. And let me know how often you use them in your game if you have them. Anyway, I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care.